I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Early on in the late 60s, 70s, one of the 60s, 70s, there was a phenomenon when I was working for Procter & Gamble, and not that anybody that what I'm about to mention is involved in this, but it was a thing called wife swapping back in the 70s. And mainly among Japheth people, but among Hamites as well, that they would wife swap, right? You go to a man's house, his wife, you'd have sex with his wife, he'd have sex with your wife, and then y'all have dinner, and whatever it is you do, watch television. I don't know, but it was very popular, and people were talking about it. There was intimating about it on television. They didn't really have any broad programs, but wife swapping. And then also in the 70s, they had a place here in New York City down on 72nd Street, somewhere in that general region off of Broadway called Plato's Retreat. And in Plato's Retreat, you can just walk in, right, and just start having sex with anybody who's in there, woman, man, whoever you want to have sex with. I never went. So all this is the sexual revolution of the 60s, right, the 70s. The 60s and the 70s, the sexual revolution. But, wife swapping and, just indiscriminately having sex with whoever in a setting. But it keeps growing to a greater level. And right now, there's this idea of having a persona or an aura that makes the sex more exciting. That is to say, that a tranny or drag shows, the reason for drag shows is to sexually excite beyond just a normal, boy meets girl, girl and boy. Now it is dressed up with a imaginary, if you will, costume, and it is now dressed up with a man now acting like a woman, suppose makes sex more aphrodisiac-y, that's a word. It's a sickness, it's what it is. But I have to tell you that it's very popular. And that's why it's because people are looking for something more than just, they're just having normal sex. They're looking for something more exciting now. And a lot of people say, well, men were born women and women were born men. Yeah, that it seems to me that mentally somebody can be anybody. You can be, I don't know, Charles Manson. Mentally you can be, but physically God made you who God made you. So I think what I'm going to do, we're going to look at something, because there's a phenomenon that's been promoted by Barack Hussein Obama. You may think that what's happening now with the assault on the Temple of Democracy, January 6th, and what's happening in the political sphere with Trump and on and on and on. But let me tell you something. That boy Barack Hussein Obama done started something about sex and, adding some sauce to your sex. In fact, I heard there's a man convicted of doing rough sex out in Central Park. This was back in the 70s, rough sex. This preppy-looking boy who killed this girl and then there's something that you do to make pardon me if this word orgasm bother you, but people are looking for something beyond just sex. So trannies, men with men, costumes, is all now a part of the aura and so it is sweeping, and all of it can be attributed to Barack Hussein Obama in terms of it now being an acceptable course, even taught to little children. So children won't grow up thinking that it's weird. Children are taught that drag is the way to, think about sex. It's crazy. Anyway, look at this. I'll show you this. I'll be right back.
Week by week, Republican-led legislatures across the country are advancing new legislation that attacks the rights of LGBTQ plus individuals. Now, the vast majority of these bills specifically target transgender people. This week in Missouri, the Republican-controlled legislature passed two more bills, a bill that bars trans students from competing or playing sports on teams that align with their gender identity or don't align with their gender identity, and a near total ban on gender-affirming care for minors regardless of parental consent. According to a count by the ACLU, 474 anti-LGBTQ bills have been introduced this year alone, and a number of them already, that number already more than doubles the number of similar bills passed in 2022. As you can see, the number of bills introduced this year exceeds the number of bills totally in the past 4 years, or the 4 prior years. So far this year, more than 50 anti-LGBTQ bills have passed nationwide. Anti-trans rhetoric and substantially, subsequently anti-trans legislation have become central to right-wing messaging among those passing laws at the state level. Advocates for trans rights have been saying for a long time that anti-LGBTQ policy, and specifically this focused, accelerating attack on trans people, is actually all part of a political strategy from the right. When the political right lost same-sex marriage as a central rallying point for the socially conservative Christian right, they needed something else to gin up support and moral panic.
I'm coming back to this. When I threw this a whole lot more, we got this tranny. Well, actually, go ahead, Messenger. Go ahead. No, wait. So listen, trannies, right? You're born with a, let's say, with a male, sexual identity, right? With the male, what a male has, penis, right? And so you cut it off because, or you have surgery. Let's put it that way. Let's because you want to become a woman. Now, let's say, for instance, that you're born in the vernacular of today's common, nomenclature, use a fancy word. You're born black, right? You're born black, right? You're born black. Your mama black, your daddy black, you black, your grandmama black, your granddaddy black, all your sister and brother, they all black too, right? And you're born in the ghetto too, by the way. But let's say, for instance, there's a pill that you could take, or a surgical procedure that a doctor could do in your lobotomy that would instantly turn you white, right? Now, it's a surgery. You weren't born that way, but the surgeon found a place in the lobotomy that would make your mind think that you're white, and instantly you turn away. You start talking about, you talk like a pinch-nosed Negro. You be talking like this pinch-nosed Negro, like all pro-wine play. You be talking like a pinch-nosed Negro, right? All these pinch-nosed Negro, like Cornel West, pinch-nosed Negro, Van Jones, though he got the biggest nose on the planet. You be talking with a pinch-nose. You would actually you think you're white, because this doctor did a surgical procedure to your lobotomy. Now you think you're white, and you start talking with a pinch-nosed Negro because you want to sound white. You start acting white, and when you're walking down the street at night, you and your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or whatever, and somebody said, "Oh, there's some black people across the street over there with a black bubble jackets on." You say, "Where? Let's run." So you start acting white, right? But you weren't born that way. Should there be legislation? Should there be legislation that says, all right, a lobotomy, a surgical procedure took place and took a person who was born black, his mama was black, his daddy was black, his grandmama was black, his granddaddy, his great-granddaddy, his great-grandmama, all his sisters and brothers were black, and he's born in the ghetto. But the surgical procedure has made him white. Now, people are saying, but we know you were born black. And so we're going to treat you like you black. We're going to ask you, do you play basketball? We're going to treat you like you're black. Even though you're white, you say you think you're white. We're going to treat you like you're black, right? So then you go to the say, well, I want laws passed to stop people from calling me black. I want people to call me white. And I want to be able to go in the white people's bathroom. I want to be able to drink. I want to drink from the white people's color fountain. I want laws that says I'm white. Excuse me, right? Okay, because that's what's going on. That's what's going on. And guess what? Obama he ain't black, he ain't white, he ain't male. Anyway, just male or female. Let's not go. Well, anyway, you get the idea. Come on, Mr. Indian, let's take, because we got this woman with all this costume. This man got a voice like a man. Sound like Freddie the Frog. I swear. Hey, Fred Sanford. Go ahead, Mr. Indian. Watch this. Come here in a few minutes.
And they're admitting it. The New York Times spoke to some people involved in the effort. Quote, "We knew we needed to find an issue that the candidates were comfortable talking about," said Terry Schilling, the president of American Principles Project, a social conservative advocacy group. "And we threw everything at the wall." So it started as scattered bills restricting trans girls' access to sports, and bathrooms have exploded into one of the central talking points of the right, using language about children's safety and harnessing conservative anxieties about evolving gender norms. This political strategy puts the rights and lives of trans Americans on the line, and many of them are children. On Friday, I had the opportunity to speak with two parents of trans and non-binary kids. Listen to what they told me.
It's painful to me, as you said, they frame it as a debate or an issue. And I'm sure the rabbi will agree with me that our children's gender is not an issue. And it's not a debate. Their existence is not up for debate. And that's what we've been trying to say for so long. Trans people exist, and we're tired of them being used by these organizations that have such deep pockets, like the Heritage Foundation and the Alliance Defending Freedom. This is not something that's homegrown. This is all completely manufactured because they know that division and bigotry sells.
To discuss the conservative campaign against transgender rights, I'm joined by Imara Jones, the founder of Translash Media, the chair of the Transgender Law Center. She's won 5 Emmy Awards, a Peabody Award. Yesterday, she won a GLAAD Award for her podcast, Translash, because Imara knows a lot about this. So thank you for being with us, my friend. You have been writing about this for years, and I think I want to understand this and frame this a little differly.
Yeah, the person I'm talking about
is the flavor du jour.
This person I'm talking about that you know, that we went through this entire segment just to get to this person. Now, I think that he was born a man, right? And I think he, took one of them pills. Well, had surgery, right? And now he's won all these awards, the Emmy Award. He got all these awards out, on how much of a tranny you can be, right? So go ahead, Mr. Engine. I'll have my comments afterwards.
Of right-wingers in this country who need something to cause people to feel morally panicked about, to get to the polls, to activate. When you go out there and you see these school board meetings and these city council meetings where parents are up there complaining about trans kids, this is not something naturally occurring. Most of these parents didn't have any encounters with trans kids, don't have any clue as to what's going on here. These are talking points that are provided by right-wing organizations.
Well, I wish it was just talking points. I think that we have to understand that there's actually a vast network of people who are deputized by these national organizations and sent money, expertise, resources, as well as talking points. So if it were just them sort of faxing talking points to, willing bigots, then that would be one thing. But I think that we have to understand that, for example, the Alliance Defending Freedom has something called an ambassadors program, where they are essentially looking for individual representatives in school districts across the country to start trouble around trans issues, and then sending them the resources to be able to take those to scale. And that's one of the ways in which Peyton O'Connor, who is among, if not the first trans person on a school board in this country in Asheville, North Carolina, was run off the school board through one of these programs, and others like the Family Research Council, which has, nearly 40 individual state policy councils across the country that are also behind this push. So it's much more than just talking points. It's a vast network of resources, people, and expertise to make it look local when it's actually a national funding.
I have 2 questions. How can I phrase this? Is that your type? I mean, sexually, right? Donald Trump said that E.G. Carroll was not his type. She ain't my type, he said. Somebody else said wasn't his type. Donald Trump, I don't know about that. But is that your type? This Academy Award winner, this Emmy Award, with this GLAAD Award. Is that your type? I mean, I mean, if it is what it is, what it is. If that's your type. The other thing is that so trannies, mainly males, right, who become females, then they want to compete in female competition, right? Is there no sense of loyalty? Is there no sense of equality? Because the tranny that was once a male that became a female knows that he's bigger and stronger, got bigger muscles, and God made him all the way around the barn a bigger and stronger person than the average woman. He knows that. He didn't know it. He knows he's stronger. He knows that competition-wise that he's bigger than that woman. He knows it. So is there a sense of morality, a sense of honesty, a sense of, well, I know I'm stronger than you, so I'm not going to pick on you. I'm going to pick on somebody my size, right? I don't pick on another man. I don't pick on a little woman like you. I'll pick on, not the women a little, and the disgraceful, disgusting, or something like that. I don't mean that. But is there such a morality way where even if you're a tranny, you should have the discretion or the integrity enough to say, I'm not going to pick on you. You're a woman. You were born a woman. I was born a man. And I'm big and strong than you. I can hit harder than you. And I'm not going to compete with you and then beat you and say I beat you. Where is the sense of morality, honesty, integrity, to say what is just? Right? It's saying, all right, let's have, Wilma Rudolph run with a cheetah, right? They put Wilma Rudolph over here. Y'all don't know her. Who can I find that's recent who's a great runner? I don't know who would find her. Somebody would. Anyway, so let's put a man and a cheetah together, and say that the cheetah. And say, because the cheetah is fast, can run like you don't believe, much faster than a human being. And the cheetah gonna win the race because the cheetah was designed to run. They got a sleek body. They can go up to 100 miles an hour. Man, if he can get 20, 30, he's doing good, right? So the same thing with a tranny. It's like the cheetah and it's like the turtle and the rabbit and the turtle. I'm trying to figure all this out. And then the other thing is that, well, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Engineer. Go ahead, because I'm going to say something.
Campaign by billionaires.
And why? Because when you look back, tell me how this compares to making abortion
and the other thing is that these people whose promoters think they're so smart. We're so smart. So we're equal. We're equality. We're about equality. We're about everybody love who you will. You got preachers like that. Black preachers, right? Black preachers, white ones too. It's a Baptist church. Well, I am not myself queer or gay, but I believe that you ought to be able to love and marry who you love and who you marry. I am not, I say, all right. I said, okay, preacher, you black preacher, right? Yes. I'm a man of God. I just think that if you love someone and you want to be, no one should prevent you from marrying or loving who you want to marry. All right? Did that you say, preacher? Yes. Pentecostal preacher? Yes. Halabashanda. Anyway. So I said, well, preacher, I love your wife. Can I go to bed with her? I'm in love with your wife. Can I love her? Can I get in bed with her? You see, how stupid you are, preacher. Because the moment I asked to get into bed with your wife, all of a sudden that love ain't so free no more. What a stupid. And I've seen black preachers and black deacons, they think they're so damn smart. I've never seen anybody as stupid as that. Well, I'm not a queer, and I'm not that myself, but if anyone else wants, okay, can I love your wife? How about your daughter? What about her? Can I have her too? Oh, all of a sudden now a sense of morality kicks in. What a bunch of hypocrites, especially these preachers and church people. And the black ones are the worst. I do declare I've never seen anything like it. Well, I just believe that, I'm a grandmother, and if my daughter wants to marry another woman, if she loves another woman, I just believe that she ought to be able to do that. Well, what about if another woman wants to love the woman that your granddaughter loves and want to take her away? Is that right too? Is that right? Well, God have mercy. Have you ever seen anything as confused as all of this? I mean, you're talking about confusion. Call it Obama. That's what you ought to call it. The Obama doctrine. That's what it is. But the other thing is that, why she get dressed up all that? And I suppose got a bow on her hair and everything. I was asking if she played basketball. But, by the way, Brittany Griner is back on the basketball court. Have y'all seen that? Go ahead, Miss. I'm getting ready to go somewhere. Mister, do we have anything left on this that I need to show? Go ahead, because I've had about enough of this I can take. But go ahead just with the rest of it.
A central animating factor when it wasn't. In the early 70s, abortion was not a central matter to either churches or conservatives, but it was turned.
Let me wrap this up by saying this. Our courtyard, which is a beautiful courtyard, was dedicated to a deacon who we named Remnant Williams, who was molested when he was 5 years old by his uncle, and he grew up a homosexual. And he came to this church, and he asked me to help him and pray with him to think like a man, act like a man, because he had been treated like a woman by men about 45, 50 years of his life. So we helped him. When he died, we dedicated a courtyard. So a large part of our church building is dedicated to a former homosexual man. I'm not against homosexuals. I baptized a lot of them. I've sit in council with them. They had a lot of them as members of our congregation. I'm not a hater of a homosexual. I try to show them the right way. As Deacon Williams, who was molested, and he thought that, and then all the men around him for the rest of his life treated him like a woman. I showed him how to be a man. So let's be clear about that. But the analogies I gave are true and fitting. And when you see a preacher, I can understand if it's just a regular lay person, but you see one who's supposed to have some sort of relationship with God and some sort of affinity to the Word of God, to the Bible, stands up and says, let people love who they want to love, and then ask him, can I jug your wife? Ask him that, see if that's really what he feels, if he really feels that way. And I know that's a little bit coarse, but I got to go right in at the quick. I know I have to use language. I understand from the first day I started preaching, I have to use language to get your attention. Now, you may say you're sensitive to it, but you heard it before. You heard it. Well, preacher ain't supposed to be. Well, if the preacher can't bring you the truth, then who does? And why do you listen to somebody? Anyway, so the deal is that this thing is getting weirder and weirder. It's going to leave here, and it's going to go to animals. I'm going to tell you, it won't be long. By this time, and it's not too long from now, people will be marrying animals. You'll see a man and a dog getting ready to get married.